Welcome back, everyone. Today we are checking out Backward Poiesis. This is a fantastic narrative experience that I think we got some great pictures in. It's a really cool liminal space game, so I don't want to delay anymore. Let's get liminal. This game is based on the testimony of a person who discovered certain unexplained images. His name will tentatively be Mr. A. Well, this is a bit of a story from some time ago, but my company instructed me to transfer, so I moved to a new place. I won't mention the name, but it's a well-known regional city on a national scale. There were numerous properties available, but the one I chose was somewhat unusual. I'm not entirely sure of the details, but it appears that the previous owner had fled in the middle of the night. Consequently, the furniture, which would have been expensive to dispose of, was left behind. Well, although most people find it a bit off-putting, the rent was quite reasonable, and I considered it an unexpected find. So I decided on it right away. The reason is that, due to the nature of my job, I often have to transfer. To reduce the burden of moving, I make it a point to choose furnished properties. Up until the day of the move, there weren't any particular issues. I took care of the contract and prepared for the move. Now, let me tell you about the day of. I took the Shinkansen in the morning, then transferred to a local train. Let's see, I believe I arrived around midday? I was waiting in front of the building for the movers, but I got a message saying they were stuck in traffic. It was an unbearably hot summer day, so I decided to wait inside the room to escape the heat. The electricity had already been set up, so I looked for the remote to turn on the air conditioner. As I was searching, I happened to glance at the bed frame that was already in the room. So when I looked, there was something under the bed frame. At first, I thought it might be the remote, but as I reached out, I realized it was something else, a video camera. Under the bed frame was a video camera. Yes, it was quite an old video camera. Of course, I was startled for a moment, but I figured it was probably something left behind by the real estate company or maybe the cleaning crew. So without thinking much of it, I playfully pressed the power button. The screen showed that it was powering up. After the camera powered up, out of curiosity, I thought I'd check to see if any footage was left on it. And there was actually quite a lot. The person who recorded it seemed to be a 32-year-old man working in construction, living with his family of 3. I think he was temporarily on work assignment alone. It was probably the video camera of someone with kids. When I looked at the thumbnails, most of them showed bright scenes inside a home or smiling face of a young child. What made me feel a bit uneasy was that only the most recent video had a thumbnail that felt a little different in atmosphere. You see, it looked like it was inside of some building, but it was unusually dark. The light from the flashlight was illuminating the room. That got me curious, so I decided to play the video first. Excuse me for a moment. I've got a call. Is it alright if I take it? Sorry about that. A few minutes later. Sorry about that. It was a call from work, but everything's fine now. We were talking about the video camera, right? Well, yes. Actually, I've already thrown that camera away, so I don't have it anymore. I didn't want to get involved in anything troublesome by taking it to the police, and the real estate company said they had no idea about it either. More than anything, it was the content of the video. You see, I tend to dwell on the past quite a bit, so I think I just wanted to get rid of it as quickly as possible. At first, I thought it might be some kind of prank, but for something just meant to disturb someone. It seemed a little too elaborate. The content of the video, you ask? It's a bit of a long story, is that alright? The video showed a dark and spacious space. Inorganic concrete pillars coldly penetrate the empty space. It looked like a building that had been abandoned halfway through construction. The space continues further back. Only his footsteps echo. I can constantly hear his anxious breathing. There was a hallway pierced by pillars. The path divides into 3 parts. He proceeded to the right. There is a materials yard. He went back the way he came. The left aisle was very wide. Seems to go on much further. It was a small room. There were many monitors. Broadcast equipment. Wandering aimlessly, he seemed to know no way. If he doesn't know the way, this is a very dangerous situation. In the seemingly endless darkness, if the batteries in the flashlight run out. That makes me understand his behavior as he continues to walk. He is left with no choice but to keep walking. I can only imagine his fear in the dark. Suddenly, I saw a ray of light. Behind the door was a neat little space. I can't believe the devastation a while ago. Would such a space exist in an abandoned building? It looked like a movie theater there. There's a unique atmosphere peculiar to movie theaters. What creates this atmosphere? According to one study, people who recognize the same story synchronize their brain activity and heart rate. Curiously, this synchronization occurs even when people are far apart. It is said to occur unconsciously, regardless of emotion. If this kind of action occurs, an object that many people see at the same time may induce people's consciousness into one. appeared on the screen was the face of a videographer. There's something here that recognizes me. How horrified he must have been to realize it. When he got off the elevator, the place looked like a children's facility. Unnatural cheerfulness, on the contrary, stirs uneasiness. But at the same time, we feel nostalgic, perhaps because we have seen similar places. Your childhood memories, the educational facilities you saw on TV, are the places you visited in your dreams. We trust our memories unconsciously and unconditionally. But human memory is unstoppable as a child's balloon playground equipment. An experiment was conducted. Subjects were asked to watch an advertisement for a theme park. The ad included a scene in which a child shakes hands with a rabbit character at the theme park. After the experiment, 25% of the participants indicated that they had actually met the rabbit character in the advertisement at that theme park. Some respondents said they not only shook hands, but they also hugged, and others said they certainly remembered the fluffy touch of hands and ears. However, the ad was created only for the purpose of experimentation, and the rabbit character does not exist in the ad's theme park. In another experiment, subjects were instructed to do this. Please spend a few minutes imagining the painful experience of having a piece of skin taken from your finger by a nurse when you were a child. After the experiment, many participants claimed to recall such experiences in the past, and some even described their experiences in detail, including the smell of disinfectant. However, the story of skin being harvested from fingers is a fiction for the sake of experimentation, and medical policy records prove that it does not exist. What these experiments have shown is that the memories we trust are vulnerable. And that it is easy to make false images of others perceived as true events. Then how can you prove that the past you believe really happened? The next place he arrived at looked like an art museum display room. Today, painting is often perceived as mere entertainment. But most art is created with a clear intention and purpose. One example of such a painting is a religious painting. Religion was spread by written and oral means. However, there is inevitably a limit to the information that can be conveyed in audio and text alone. Also, this is true even today. Many people do not want to read text because they consider them monotonous. Therefore, religious art was created to tell religious stories more effectively. Visual representation can help tell a story to those who cannot read. Also, a clear representation of God's image can be remembered as an impression of reality. In other words, visual expression is indispensable to tell a story to a large number of people and to make a strong impression at the same time. But he would have no time to think about that, lost alone in this space. Because all that fills his head is loneliness and anxiety. Changing rooms, perhaps? The sticky heat is entangled in the skin. The floor is humid due to the unusual humidity. The smell of chlorine gets stronger the further he goes along. It was a different world, ruled by water. The tiles are always wet and uncomfortably slimy. If he drowns here, no one will come to his rescue. It is said that humans have an instinctive fear of water. But did you know our world used to be filled with fluid? In the 17th century science, the ether theories was widely believed. According to this theory, the world was thought to be filled with a fluid called ether, and many natural phenomena were thought to be caused by the ether. In other words, people living in the 17th century perceived the world as filled with fluid. These ideas were debunked as science developed. Today we recognize that the world is filled with particles. But have you noticed? To recognize a world filled with particles, is nothing less than creating the world to which you belong. Just as the people of that time lived in a fluid called the ether. It looked like a brand new kindergarten there. When I hear the word kindergarten, I'm reminded of a certain incident. In that class, something called higher that lived in the closet was the talk of the children. Perhaps to discipline the preschoolers, a nursery school teacher told them, "If you do something bad, something will come out of the closet." How could it cause such an event later on? It occurred during nap time, which takes place in kindergarten. The nursery school teacher in charge of the class closed the blackout curtains and put the children down as usual. She didn't look particularly different from usual, so she locked the classroom door and went to the staff room to get her papers. A short time later, the nursery teacher in charge of the class next door burst into the staff room looking upset. The child care worker said she heard multiple children screaming and the sound of heavy footsteps coming from next door. She rushed back to the classroom and opened the door to find the classroom in an unusual situation. In the darkness, many children were panicking, screaming, running around terrified. Many children complained of feeling ill, and 3 children were taken to the hospital, but none of the students had life-threatening injuries. According to the child, something like this happened in the classroom. At first, it was a classroom just like any other, nothing out of the ordinary. With the lights turned off and dark curtains drawn, the classroom was filled with silence. However, one of the children suddenly shouted out loud saying this: "There's a big face. It's looking at me." The children unconsciously turned their attention towards the closet, and then in the end, this incident was concluded to be nothing more than a case of mass hysteria among the children. It was speculated that the darkness and absence of a nursery teacher led the children to panic, prompting a review of the procedures. Since then, it's said that no similar instances have ever occurred at that kindergarten again. However, the identity of the face-like object peeking out of the closet captured on security cameras the night after the incident is still unknown. What lay before him was a room with yellow wallpaper. The unpleasant hum of the fluorescent light continued to buzz. And the faintly damp and filthy carpet stretched endlessly across the floor. Even through the screen, the eerie atmosphere of the room was palpable. As I watched the footage, I noticed something. I remembered seeing similar footage in the past. Perhaps you've seen it too, haven't you? If that's the case, what could it possibly mean? Thank you for listening to my story for so long. I ended up talking about a lot of unnecessary things, but please don't mind that. What's important is that you've accepted and recognized this story. Let's try to recall the details of this story from the beginning. He went to another world. And he never returned. Thank you for playing. And thank you all for watching. I really enjoyed this game. I'm going to put the link to it in the description, and I will definitely see you guys next time. I had to check that I had my headphones on here and there because the audio was so immersive and so well done that I felt like I was in the room. So if you... Well, it's the end of the video now, but if you do listen to this, check it with headphones and you'll know what I mean with the footsteps. It's and the water effects. It's just so well done. It's a beautifully crafted game, beautifully crafted story, and yeah, I just appreciate you all joining. So hit the subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this, and stay liminal. Bye now.